It's Kareen here, and what you're about to witness is one entrepreneur's journey on how they navigate a challenge or need support in an area of their business with me. Results may vary if you try this on your own. The purpose of sharing this with you is to help you know that help is always available and you don't have to do it alone.
I often feel like I'm not thinking big enough, but my sister's very risk averse, and she's like, this is great. She's coming from a chef background, in, out, kind of thinks about our business a lot like a restaurant, because that's her experience the last 15 years. And so I'm always trying to kind of cater this line of okay, well, this is realistically where we need to grow without scaring her and trying to keep the peace. And oftentimes if I'm putting in to place a lot of structure, because I love structure and process, she takes it very personally, because she's like, oh, well, that's an attack against me because I'm not doing this right. So it's been hard, I think, to balance family dynamics, co-founding relationship, sister dynamic. And then I feel like we've made a lot of traction in the last year and a half. And so now thinking about, okay, if we're really going to do this, we really need to think about okay, fueling and funding our business and making it a real thing, because as we all know, CPG is so tough. And sometimes I'm like, is this even a good business to be in? But I'm like, if we really need to give it a real shot, we need to have the real talk of okay, we're going to do this. This is what the next 2 years looks like. And realistically, I think we need a lot of help on what sustainable actual growth and funding looks like. So I just want to try as a leader to think bigger and not be so afraid and kind of in this middle place. We're either going to go for it or we're not, and have the tough conversations. And I'm hoping it's the former. So
when it comes to family and business, so I've had to organize, reorganize, restructure partnerships that are family, whether married couples, siblings, parent-child situation. And I think one thing that can happen is that the dynamics from home of the relationship you initiated with by birth start to bleed into how you lead in business, and you don't know how yet to have the boundaries, I'll call them, or the line of saying, okay, you know what, I'm putting my CEO hat on, and this is what my CEO hat looks like. And we have to define yours. If she's chief of product, that's your hat. So these are the roles we're playing when we're in business, so that there's delineation between how you operate. I think also it'd be good to know future wise, when you fast forward to, this is what the ultimate thing is that we want to design for this business, and this is the role I want to play in this business, then designing together what leadership looks like. And also when you're going to bring in other parties, because you're going to at scale, to know that this has to be a business dynamic, and we have to have a culture here that we're going to welcome other people into, that aren't going to be flustered by our dynamic as sisters. So I love this awareness, because to design as we grow, right? And even with your scale bias, who do you have to become to lead your business? Now, who do you have to tell others you are in order to work with you? So such a great awareness to say, sometimes our dynamics as siblings does not necessarily fit the dynamics of what this business needs right now. And so let's, without insulting each other, let's define what is our role? What's our code of conduct? I have this exercise I do. It's you build your code of conduct of how you operate for all companies, regardless if you're in family or not. But then it gives you the guidelines of what it means to get through conflict, or celebrate, or what we accept as a firm, what we will never accept. It's a really great way to get everyone on board to understand how you operate. So I like that for you, for the scaling model, to also think about your role in it all, and then how you guys work together. This is great to know. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, we had started it. And then I think earlier this year is when she was found out she was expecting January. So then she's had a really tough pregnancy. So then it's been hard for her, I think, to do her side of the role. So it's just I've never worked, in this kind of environment. It's so sensitive.
Yeah.
And so I feel as a leader, to your point, Kareen, I really tried to put into place structure and find the strengths of hers, without, though, I think being it's hard, because you just know your sister, so much of her psychological trauma, or Chelsea was the black sheep a lot growing up, and she was in kitchens often the sous chefs, really intense executive chefs. So I think she builds with a lot of insecurity. So it's hard then to be like, okay, well, you can't do your roles. Like here, it's just hard. Like
Yeah.
sharing
Yeah.
that piece. I've never had to like coach or even like pure mentor anybody with
Well,
that history.
totally.
So I feel like I fall into like a lot of thinking traps, and it's just like we probably need like a business coach all the time.
We can also do some side sessions if you need
Yeah,
to. Like I will
right.
make time.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
something to think about is, when it's feedback time, right? Like just the trick of the trade. It's always good to give compliments about the things they're doing well first, and then say, hey, we need to improve on these things. Or so like, and sometimes if it's someone that is has shut down because they haven't felt seen or heard in the past, is to say, what do you think? Like, it's to open it up to them. What do you propose? Like, this is the challenge I'm seeing. What do you propose as a solution? And in creating like an inclusive way of dialoguing, if there's time for it. Obviously, there's certain circumstances where it's like, listen, like we need to improve upon this in the future, but for right now, this urgent thing needs to be handled, and I'm going to handle it this way. But just note that we're going to come to it together. So it's creating, if you're really wanting a reciprocal relationship of both being leaders to drive the business, then I think it's important to create the environment that allows for that. And for you to be hypersensitive all the time can be quite exhausting in your business when you're like, I just want to be transactional and get this done, but I have to be hypersensitive because I know your circumstance. You're going to have employees that are going to have these issues too sometimes, where it's like, we still have this job at hand. So if you don't have the capacity right now to support me, then I need to figure out like, what do we need to do and invest in to get the support we need to drive this business forward. Like that's where the discernment comes in, of what's best for the business and what's best for your personal relationship. That's why it is a very sensitive line, but that's why the code of conduct, the way you communicate, like setting it up front when you're both in a healthy mindset, that when it's a stressful time, you can maneuver really easily. So, but it's good for me to be aware of. So when anytime you want to bring up those challenges, I can definitely support you through them. Just want to remind you that breakthroughs and strategies are here for you. You don't have to be isolated on your business building journey. If you'd like to have a chance to connect with me and let me be all up in your business, go to heykareen.com/connect and a team member will share how you can obtain the best support at this time. You always can have me in your pocket by leveraging my AI. Go to heykareen.app, download it, and start chatting away. And of course, I am always here, willing and ready to be the support you need. All you have to do is ask.